Oh, live.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. That's right. You're almost at the weekend. We've managed to make it through almost another week without travail. Today is day 60 of United States of America versus Joe Biggs. And I'm going to have to eat some crow today and make a private apology to a very good young man, one of the prosecutors. I'm not going to mention his name. I didn't in the thing over which I will have to apologize for. But yesterday, we're sitting in court in proceedings that never end. And this young guy gets up and he starts cross-examining one of our witnesses. And he's done a great job at cross-examinations. It's been very exciting to watch and very exciting to watch him develop a sense of confidence in skills that I'm not sure he really realizes he possesses. He's just his cross-examinations are well organized, well structured, and well executed, but they're long. And so, he's going on with some witness yesterday. And after about an hour, I'm like, okay, you made your point. And the lawyer sitting next to me, Steve Metcalf from New York and Baltimore, we start cracking jokes and exchanging wry humor. And on these Post-it notes, we always take them out of the courtroom because we fear what would happen if they fell into the wrong hands. And I'm just like, God, enough. This day's never going to end. And I start joking around and I come up with an image that captures it perfectly. This is like a monkey learning how to masturbate. He just can't let the damn thing go. So I tweet this and it immediately finds its way into the Twitter stream via Roger Parnoff, a reporter for some entity who's live streaming. And once I saw that, I took it down. I thought that's shameful. It's really not something I should have done. I'm embarrassed by it, yada, yada, yada. Well, word got to me last night that this fellow saw it. So I'm going to track him down in the courtroom and tell him what I've told so many adversaries of mine over the years.
I'm just kidding.
I'm a member of AA. It's not the one you think of. It's called Assaholics Anonymous. And every now and then I succumb to the addiction to just do something stupid. And I did it yesterday, and I'm sorry. So, there it is, folks. You heard it here first. You'll hear it from me. And I've had to tweet something to that effect. But we go on today, and we're well into the defense case. My hunch is that we will rest, meaning all of the defendants, early to mid next week. I don't know whether the government intends to call rebuttal witnesses, but we could be at closing arguments as soon as late next week. Certainly early the week after Easter. Is immoderate norm the best norm? Well, let me tell you. Oh, if I was mic'd up yesterday and you heard the comments and the exchange between Mr. Metcalf and I'd either be disbarred or famous or infamous or both. We've developed.
You're kind of both of those already, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Semi. But we've developed personae, Rupert and Nigel, and we like to play the role of British sportscasters. So I will turn. Oh, Nigel, here we are, day 59 of these endless proceedings, while we're watching another cross-examination develop at the rate that polar ice caps melt. Let's take a look at Judge Kelly. He's still awake, and he still appears to be presiding over these endless proceedings where questions compound and lead to nothing. Nowhere in particular, but quickly. So that's
excruciating pain as it spits in my eye. Look at that monkey.
Oh, that monkey just can't let it go. Cheetah. Find some Cheetos to feed to that fellow. Anyhow, off we go. Hey, so, yesterday we talked. It's funny. The things we talked about yesterday developed even more today. Last night or maybe this morning, the New York Times published a letter signed by by about 1,000 AI researchers and people influential in the community, published by the Future of Life Institute. That is Max Tegmark's think tank. And it talks about the dangers that artificial intelligence poses to society and humanity. And it must be that they all listened to Mike and I talking yesterday, got together, and 1,000 of them signed that. We certainly didn't have advance notice of it, but the letter is interesting reading. And
I
Max
suspect that there are prominent podcasters who listen to us, Norm, because I do listen to their stuff, and I'm starting to hear here and there little threads, and maybe I'm just crazy, but phrasing that mimics the way that you and I speak to each other on certain topics. So, hello to any of you that are peeping in at 7:45 in the morning, prepping for your shows. We are honored to support and contribute to yours.
Well, it's also possible that the language we're using to describe events is just accurate language, and other reasonable minds come to it at the same time. We aspire to influence, but
It's possible, right? It's possible, I guess.
But let's go back to AI. Here's what I found so chilling and interesting about the letter. I took a look. I read it and I recommend that all of you do. It's in. Is it in the New York Post or the New York Times, Mike? I thought it was the Times.
Well, I've got. Oh, sorry. Here we go. It's in the New York Post as well.
Okay. So, click on the letter, read through it, and what you'll see is largely a discussion of what we said yesterday, and that is that we are developing machines that have mind-like capabilities, and we don't fully understand how they work, and we are turning more and more of the management of our lives over to these machines, and we are in effect yielding dominion and control over the choices we make to entities that we don't understand. And that poses risks. It poses risks not just in terms of how we manage with respect to one another, but how we engage with the world itself. And that this the development of artificial intelligence will be as profound a transforming effect on the world as was the Industrial Revolution, that the information age is well upon us, and we need to take heed before things get beyond our control altogether. But here's what was interesting. Yesterday, Mike and I talked about the discussion between Elon Musk and gosh, I'm forgetting his name, Sam
Altman.
Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI.
Right? Not Elon, but Lex Friedman and Sam Altman.
Sorry about that. Geriatric waste case here. Altman was not one of the signers of the letter. And the letter gave you a little bit of insight into what's going on in the AI community. It called for a 6-month moratorium on the development, research and development of AI more sophisticated than ChatGPT. So these are insiders with insight into what is going on in terms of research and development. And their view is that in the competitive marketplace, in the race to develop the most comprehensive AI, somebody is close to market. Somebody is very close to developing an AI device that makes ChatGPT look pedestrian. And the fact that Altman didn't sign it, could mean that he was just too busy. He didn't get along. He couldn't find the time. They couldn't find him, or that he perhaps knows more and perhaps is involved in more than he cares to put his name to. So, I want to, I don't want to be too alarmist, but I do urge you to take a look at the letter. And I also urge you to take some time looking at the Future of Life Institute. Yep. This is a big think group founded by Max Tegmark. And Max Tegmark has written one of the best and most accessible books, that, in my opinion at least, for understanding the range of what's at stake regarding AI. And it's called Life 3.0. So Tegmark founded the Future of Life Institute, and it focuses on existential risks to humanity. In other words,
so they were founded in 2014. It's a 501c3. They actually do their work in the United States, in the European Union, and they also boast as doing work in the UN. But I thought it would be helpful to just say that their policy work on their website, I'm quoting, it says, "We aim to improve AI governance over civilian applications, autonomous weapons, and in nuclear launch." So this is a very, very serious organization. And of the 1,000+ names that are attached to this letter, you see some pretty notable names. And I'll scroll down here. But look, there's Elon Musk, but also Steve Wozniak, Andrew Yang, So these aren't just a bunch of people who are, not necessarily known in the tech world or in the entrepreneurship and elite business world. These are people who are accomplished that are signing on to this. You see the co-founder of Pinterest, the co-founder of Ripple, Chris Larson. So shout out to our buddy. His name escapes me right now, from Ripple Labs and blockchain. What am I missing here, Norm? What's our guy? Pick it up.
Yeah, it'll come up in a minute, but those of you should know Ripple's exploding in value all of a sudden. Ripple last night topped out at about 55 cents per share. It had been down as low as 30 and hovered there for quite some time. Something's going on in the crypto space right now. Jimmy Valley from Valley Capital down in Houston is a big Ripple backer, and I suspect it's time for us to have him back on, because I'd like to talk with him a little bit more about the risks of a centralized central bank digital currency. I know he backs the use of Ripple as such a thing, at least for sovereign entities. I'm not sure that he wants it being used in the general economy as well, and we may go to loggerheads with him. But back to the Future of Life Institute, Tegmark, one of the reasons, the fourth thing that the Future of Life Institute talks about, they don't feature as much in this particular squib, and that is climate change. And, there's been an interesting set of articles in the press lately about climate change, including a cover story in the most recent edition of Harper's that talks about how climate change journalism is changing. It used to be all doom and gloom, and the future of life as we know it is about to end. And now people are looking in climate change reporting at opportunities for growth and change on a global level that presents us with new and exciting opportunities. Tegmark in the climate space has been an alarmist. Tegmark is also an alarmist in the AI space. And AI optimists say that there's no reason to be pessimistic about artificial intelligence, that it will never supersede our insight and ability as humans, because it'll never have longing in the same way that we do. It'll never understand a sense of its own shortcomings and sin as we do. It will never have the capacity to develop a sense of its own ends and an appropriate way to seek ends. I think of Aristotle's discussion of the good life and of his the ends directed perspective on what we seek. But it's an important debate, and we need to pay attention to it. I think in terms of dystopian visions of the future, it's not hard to imagine a world in which AI, central bank digital currencies, and a governing elite suddenly creates a brave new world in which we're offered soma to calm our nerves, but not much more to make our lives better.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments here that I want to get to. So BTL and Lawyer Will, I want to address your comments in the order they came in. BTL says, would China sign it though? Would the counter be that they can't let China get the edge in AI? So this is an interesting point to me, because while I was reading this, I was also thinking that this reminds me of sort of these moratoriums on development of nuclear weapons and nuclear weapons research, right? When it comes to think about, the moratorium that we placed on Iran and other countries and the stuff around that, the argument would be that, the U.S. would seek to impose a moratorium, but creating an AI Cold War, right? Mm-hmm. So that the development of this stuff is obviously going to happen in the background, but that this sort of public-facing effort would chill people's perception of AI such that they would view it as a weapon, right?
Well, and it does have weapons. I mean, in the area of warfare, I mean, we have weapons that are capable of operating independently enough of us and detecting threats and eliminating those threats and acting on them.
Well, recall what I just said about the policy work for the Future of Life Institute. They say that they aim to improve AI governance over civilian applications, autonomous weapons, and in nuclear launch. So there is a direct connection between what the Future of Life Institute advocates for and the policies and initiatives that they support and develop, and the risk that I'm talking about right now.
But here's a dark thought that comes to mind as I listen to you, Mike. Okay, so AI is, this initiative to be careful, to sit on AI, to have a moratorium while we reassess. That's all fine and good in private industry if people sign on. But do you really think the folks in China are going to sign on to this? And if they don't, do you really think the United States Department of Defense and DARPA, the Advanced Research Project Agency, is going to sit back and wait for somebody to outdevelop us? Or aren't we going to have military-industrial complex folks leaping full scale into the development of AI for
Yeah,
fear
no,
about
no
what the
question.
other guy will do?
Yeah, no.
And then what happens when we have a Wuhan lab leak like event with AI, and suddenly one of these devices decides, hey, I don't want to just screw around with missiles. I want to screw around with gas prices or with whatever, access to milk. And then all bets are off, and we might be on a race to a future we don't want to live in.
Well, look,
So,
I have no qualms with saying that is 100% a certainty, and we are being primed for that sort of interruption in our day-to-day activity. They've been teasing. I say they, the upper echelons of our government have been teasing the risks of some sort of EMP style event, with the grid going down in whole or in part. So I'm not, suffice it to say that I think that what we are discussing right now has long been in motion. And to get to the second comment from lawyer Will, he says, have public letters ever been effective? Well, the answer to your question, Will, is effective at doing what? Here, the letter on its face portends to call everybody to a 6-month moratorium on development of anything more sophisticated than GPT 4.0. However, I don't think that anybody reasonably expects that Sam Altman or any of these Silicon Valley serial entrepreneur angel investors do nothings that move money around are going to heed the advice of the real makers and doers like Elon Musk, right? Because there's too much money in the private defense industry, in the military industrial complex, for them to bargain for. So ultimately, I think that what this letter does is it consolidates support so that the public can see something and know that there are plenty of accomplished people, competent people who have a reasonable suspicion and are cautious about the development of AI and its impact on our society at large. So, yes, is the answer to your question. Effective at getting what it's asking for? No. But what would a 6-month moratorium do anyway? And how would we even be accountable for anybody stopping any sort of development? It would require the transparency that we've been begging for the last several months around GPT, right?
well, the 6 month, I think the letter calls attention to it and gets people to discuss it, because ultimately control of AI is a problem of political philosophy, the same way the distribution of any good or service or access to a good or service in society is. And we the people, I realize how naive that can sound, but we the people have a right to be heard, and we have a responsibility to make our voices heard. What chills me about the letter is the 6-month window. It makes me think that there is a development out there that is imminent, that these folks fear and are afraid to name. Again, something more powerful than Chat GPT must be just around the corner and ready to break out or to be produced to the world. So stay tuned and continue to listen in here.
Before we move on, a couple of funny comments. Justin says Iran will cease and desist immediately. Yeah, you're right. And then thinking
the Ayatollah bug.
Thinking Man says you guys can start selling prepper kits pretty soon. So, who's our go-to source there? I'll let Norm figure that one out. I do, for our audio only listeners, I would like to read what's on the screen, Norm. I think it provides some helpful context, because oftentimes if you're not watching live, it's tough to discern exactly what we're looking at on the screen and talking about with the live chat participants. So in part, the letter says, quote, in parallel, AI developers must work with policymakers to dramatically accelerate development of robust AI governance systems. These should, at a minimum, include new and capable regulatory authorities dedicated to AI, oversight and tracking of highly capable AI systems and large pools of computational capability, provenance and watermarking systems to help distinguish real from synthetic, and to track model leaks. I love that one, Norm. a robust auditing and certification ecosystem, liability for AI caused harm. I love that one as well. Robust public funding for technical AI safety research, and well-resourced institutions for coping with the dramatic economic and political disruptions, especially to democracy, that AI will cause.
Yeah, but let's decode that for a minute. So let's have a more
We need bureaucracy.
We need control. We need the ability to control information and misinformation. And we'll talk maybe tomorrow about the great hoax story that you've encouraged us all to read, Mike. But before, you want to talk about preppers. In order for us to survive the forthcoming Holocaust, we need to develop an independent base of support. And Mike, I think you had something to say about that today.
I did indeed, and I'll bring this up on the screen because I would like to make everyone aware, and I'm going to do a shameless solicitation from our loyal viewers. So on the screen,
both of them.
On the screen, you'll see a published post from Rumble's corporate office, right? And this is effective as of yesterday. So I'll read it. Rumble, the video sharing platform, announced today that creators will receive additional monetization opportunities through the end of 2023. For the rest of the year, creators will receive 100% of the revenue from the purchase of monthly subscription badges, which Rumble recently launched for the price of $5 per month. This move further empowers the creator economy and positions Rumble as a leader in supporting independent creators. So the call for our live viewers, if you are so moved, this would be a way for you to, without doing a subscription via locals, that would be recurring. You could do a 1 month or for the rest of 2023 and know that a $5 contribution to Law and Legitimacy via Rumble directly will earn you a subscription badge, will help you stand out in the chat, not as though that you need to stand out for us to discuss with you and engage. But you will earn a Rumble subscription badge for as long as you're making that $5 monthly contribution.
Mike, I got to ask a question. What the hell can anybody do with a Rumble subscription badge? Hi, I'm at McDonald's. I want to jump to the front of the line so I can get my cheeseburger more quickly. I've got a Rumble subscription badge to Law and Legitimacy.
As I said, we treat this stuff in a pretty egalitarian fashion, and I'm ashamed of that. But quite frankly, it is the resources that we lack right now to build out more of the content and unlock more of the value that we have to give. So this is an opportunity. Again, shameless plug here. If you don't care to do that, you can always just give us a thumbs up on this video and share us and subscribe. That's just as important. But I wanted to make our viewers aware. This is a pretty key development, and I think it shows Rumble's sincerity in trying to compete for market share with the likes of YouTube and Twitch specifically.
And we do need resources to put our research and development team into prepper supply. Right now, we rely on mypatriotsupply.com. Because do I have a year's worth of frozen food hidden around the various locations in which I sleep? I actually do. Not that I'm ready for the apocalypse. I just like to eat. And, I know that there's a year in my future where I'm not going to have to go to the grocery store. Hey, what in the world is, we've got several topics to talk about. I'm going to flip a coin and decide which one. What's your take on Nashville, Mike? I'm watching the politicization of this event and its transformation into a broader discussion about trans people with a sense of grave misgivings. I mean, we've got gun violence throughout the United States. I think it's a generalized phenomena that reflects a cry for significance, a cry for help. From individuals in an economy gone wrong, in a society that's not functioning well. And now we end up with the shooting at the Covenant School in Nashville. The shooter happens to be a man who wants to be a woman, or a woman who wants to be a man. I can't keep track of all this. It happens to be a boy named Sue, and now, and it's in Nashville, where Matt Walsh has made a jihad or a holy war about transphobia. And people are starting to talk about Antifa and a trans day of vengeance. And I'm beside myself. I mean, I view this as another mass shooting, another troubled soul who couldn't fit in the world around them and acted out in rage in a way that's become a almost traditional set piece of our lives. I don't recall mass shootings 20, 30 years ago. Something has changed in our world, and this person as a trans person, I guess. I mean, that label just doesn't interest me. I'm not interested in which bathroom you have to use or what gender you perceive yourself to be. Just go out and be yourself and leave everybody alone. But what's your take on all this and the trans shooting?
Yeah, I'm similarly troubled. However, one thing that I am very clear about, having watched the body cam footage that was released, Norm, I'm not sure if you have taken a 2 minutes to view that stuff, and I don't necessarily encourage people to watch it because it is something that is difficult to envision for oneself, and you do see someone die. But law enforcement handled this in a manner that is worthy of the Medal of Honor. I'm in awe and humbled by the bravery and the courage that it takes, and the way that you're able to get a vision of that courage is to watch the body cam footage.
Yeah, no, I did see that, and it was chilling. I don't know what I would do in those circumstances. And I was rooting for the cops to put this person out of our misery. But now that shooting is over, and we see meme warfare developing.
Right. Well, look, this is the paradigm is simply this. Now there is online. I think Andy Ngo has been the most prolific and the most accurate in his reporting. And for those that are unaware, I don't think that there's anyone who watches us that is necessarily uninitiated to the name Andy Ngo. But Andy Ngo does rigorous reporting on the movement and development and goings on of Antifa. And the connection to Andy Ngo here is that Andy Ngo has made very hard conclusions regarding the presence of marginalized or otherwise small percentage demographics of American society within the ranks of Antifa, namely the trans community. And as such, he has a list, a chronology of the events, such as the Pulse nightclub shooting, I believe, that was carried out, or maybe it's not the Pulse nightclub. I could be speaking in error. Someone can fact check me here. There was a Florida nightclub shooting that occurred. Originally, it was reported to be some sort of alt-right extremist that carried out the shooting. It was revealed that was a trans individual who did that. And there are several other cases of these mass shootings over the course of the last couple of years that follow a similar pattern. What's troubling here is that the political landscape is dominated by this notion that being trans is going to equate to more violent or radical tendencies, or a tendency to be radicalized, whether there is any sort of reporting or science that backs that through psychological study or otherwise. The unfortunate thing here is that we're witnessing the worst of both sides, in my opinion, Norm. Right?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, this business of gender dysphoria, or of people who feel uncomfortable in their own skin and wish to be that's not a new phenomena. That's long been a phenomena that has been studied, treated, and coped with by very caring and decent mental health professionals. And many people have these internal struggles of tragic dimensions and go about living their lives without becoming public spectacles. And so I am urging everybody to stand down and take a deep breath. I mean, I view the politicization of the trans phenomena of gender dysphoria as part of a larger social dislocation in which we don't have common norms, we don't have a common vision of excellence, we don't have a teleology, that is a sense of the proper and appropriate ends of life. And so we have now all become pots, capable and willing and able, and with the right to scream to the potter, "Why makest me thus?" And thus we're all angry when we're not recognized immediately for our own intrinsic worth. Everybody gets a medal, right? And so, I mean, I think this all fits within that broadly. But I think that, I've got to part company with Matt Walsh. I think it's possible to discuss this business of the bottom falling out of pluralism, the need for common standards, the need for excellence, the need to have a candid discussion of virtue. I think it's possible to do that without demonizing the other and without demonizing.
Well, here's the backdrop, Norm. I understand your point, but the backdrop, just to make it a bit more of a fair analysis, and not that Matt Walsh needs me or anyone else to cape for him or come to his defense, but I share a similar sensibility to Matt Walsh in the sense that whenever you look online in whatever month it ends up being, whatever flavor of the month is for this appreciation day, that and the other, we are inundated as a society right now with some sort of recognition of those historically marginalized groups. And
Oh no, I know you. I'm
right,
exhausted by it. I
right.
mean,
And so when the excesses of a certain ideology that are widespread, ubiquitous, and promoted by the Fortune 100 companies that run America, right, is in our face, are we not allowed to deal with these things on the merits and say
okay.
that perhaps this child was raised by the internet, was morally androgynous, right, was morally bankrupt, right, and driven to believe that they were less than something, right, or that they were led to believe by whatever sort of identity confirming ideology that exists in the LGBTQIA plus realm right now, to say you will feel better when you fully realize your real self, right, and you should transition. This was a 28-year-old adult, right? I don't want to make any bones about that. 28 years old is historically well into adulthood. And if America is in a crisis of anything, it is second childhood and unserious adults, right? Infantile adults. And this is a situation, this person was sending text messages, and it was reported by the Post Millennial, sending text messages talking about, I need to die, I love you so much, this is something, you'll understand more, I'll leave plenty of evidence behind. There was a manifesto norm that won't be released. This isn't a garden.
Well, yeah, and I want to see that manifesto.
There's a lot here that's really troubling. We need a way to engage with this stuff on the merits. We shouldn't demonize Matt Walsh for making connections.
All right, fair enough.
Between the broader epidemic here.
But I just miss Red Meat America. That's why I posted Justin Carter's comment. Kids died.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Kids died. Someone crazy killed them. End of story. And,
it's not the end of the story, however. Right. I mean,
I want it to be.
You are here with young children. I have a young son. Right. So this isn't something that I can necessarily look away from and feel okay about. And not to suggest, Justin, that you can. I know that the comment before that was, should trans even be part of the story, or is it simply mental illness? I think the conversation that the political left is unwilling to let get sunlight is the connection between mental illness and one's self-identification as a gender or identity, anything other than the biological reality or their natural born sex, right? There is something to that historically we have known this. All of a sudden in 2023, we have some sort of biological amnesia.
We've become untethered to reality. I mean, I think the greatest threat to international peace is our domestic political discussion. Because if I'm China, Russia, Iran, or some other actor looking to make a bold move on the international stage, I'd strike now. Why? Because we can't even tell what frickin' gender we are. How are we going to mount a response to anything? We've become a caricature and a madhouse of people pursuing satisfaction in the name of idiosyncrasy, and it can't end well. But this show must end well for today, because I need to stumble on over to the courthouse some 12, 13 minutes away so that I can once again say, objection, and hear the judge say, overruled. Overruled. So thank you for tuning in this morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning, where we had hoped today to talk about the continuing drama in the Connecticut Public Defenders Office, where TaShun Bowden-Lewis has decided that a sense of racial favoritism should govern the agency. And rather than driving her out, the chief public defender out, as she seeks to remake the agency in her own image, commissioners have quit. Private law firm has been hired. The public relation or the human relations director is threatening legal action, and Miss Bowden-Lewis stands firmly atop a crumbling agency saying, "You're all racist. I'm black and I know better." We got the slaves running the plantation. What's going on?
Yep. Well, ultimately, we'll talk more about this. This is a microcosm of what's going on in HR departments all across the country. I've got, pretty sincerely held opinions on this, so I look forward to unpacking this. So we'll get to that tomorrow. Before you have to go and make your earnest apology, go hat in hand to to opposing counsel. I'll remind everybody to please give us a thumbs up on this video. Please consider supporting us by way of the supporter badge on Rumble. Yes, High Society will make you a paper badge. Glad to do that. I'll make one right now and send it to you via snail mail. And also give us a subscription or a like, 5-star rating over on wherever you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Overcast, etc. Please find us on Locals, and we will see you tomorrow, bright and early, 7:45 a.m. Norm, go get them.
I object.
Overruled, but I still want to hear what rule we're talking about.
The rule against everything, you know.
See you later, Norm.
Bye.